245 or 3 Kensington.
I would like to just say one thing, and I certainly agree with Councilman Becerra. I hate forcing anything on anyone, but the cost of doing this is never going to be as low as it is today. And the fact that the city is going to allow the residents 10 years to pay for it at 4% interest, it's not going to get any better than that. But we're hearing you, and we're certainly going to vote our conscience.
Well, we understand that the city can borrow money lower than 4%.
Madam Chair, this would not be borrowing money. This would just be spending money that we have for the system.
Okay, so why can't you just give us a break and just not charge us any interest?
Madam Chair, we by state law, I don't believe we can do that. There has to be some interest because that money to the rest of the taxpayers in the city of Taylor, that money would be in an interest-bearing account, collecting some money, some interest. We're already doubling the normal extended period. That would normally this would only be a 5-year assessment. We're willing to go 10 because of some of the cost that's associated with it. So we're doing everything we can do within reason and being yet fiscally responsible to the remaining residents in the city of Taylor. But what I haven't heard is that with the majority of the people that don't want it, the interest rate isn't the deal breaker. I mean, if we took it to 2%.
It's the whole thing. It's everything.
So,
yes, granted, every single one of us agrees that that road needs something. It was originally put in 37 years ago, and nothing has been done to it except filling and potholes. That road is horrible. I personally am handicapped, and I've gone out, just walking, riding my bike, something that I need to do so I can just stay mobile. And I hit a rut in the road and put my bike in the ditch a number of times, 2 or 3 times. That road is horrible. It needs something very bad. As for the water main break, nobody down that, I shouldn't say nobody. Very, very, very few complain about the water pressure.
Chair.
So I do not understand what we do. Nobody understands why they want to do the water.
Councilman John?
Madam Chair, I understand that, few people have issues with that. The biggest benefit to me would be the fire hydrants. With that being said, I talk to a lot of residents. They ask me how I was going to vote, and I said majority rules. And I agree with Becerra's concept on the majority, the super majority, but majority does rule, and that's what I'm going to base my vote on.
Madam Chair, it's kind of one of those things when you're talking about the water. You got to remember this was brought to us, and
By who?
the residents. I think all of you, if not all of you, signed the petition.
No, there is no.
Okay,
We
well,
know.
let me finish. The majority of the petition we had. So we looked at that. That's what started this whole process. So our city said, with the DPW director and the mayor, if we're going to open that road up, well, it's opened up. Let's put the water system in there that needs to be updated. It's kind of one of those things. If the door's open, grab some things while it's open before it's closed again. So that was when we saw this, we saw it as an opportunity. Now, when you're talking about roads being in bad condition, I drove the street. There's tons of roads in this city that need help. There's tons of, and I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything, but there are many, many, many more roads in a lot worse shape than yours. And that was another thing when I looked at it. I was, because like I said, I'm flipping on this, probably just 10 minutes ago. I was a yes vote. Now I'm kind of leaning towards no because it seems like the majority. But it's so close that I don't want to financially hurt somebody. And I can't live, I don't want to do that.
How can you say it's so close when I gave you the numbers? Only 27, what my petition read. It has been notarized and everything. We disagreed with the City of Taylor's special assessment.
Real quick,
Putting
Madam
a
Chair.
lien on our property, pay for the paving of our road at approximately $50 per linear foot of frontage. Standard practice is that the city is responsible for maintenance and repairs to city streets.
We are, we're not denying that, and we're just saying
And
that we
as for
cannot
water-
replace the road right now.
And
You
as-
guys came, well, a petition was signed, I don't know who signed it, it was brought to us. That's what started this whole process.
And as for the water,
And to finish real quick, the last two times, the last meeting, a majority of the people in the audience, when we asked, I specifically asked who was from Kensington and who was for this. There was at least 10 hands raised. So that right there shows me there's at least 10 people.
Madam Chair, I think we should open up the floor to some additional residents and
Yes.
additional feedback, please.
Thank you.
Tom Long, 24604 Kensington. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be brief. I know council was concerned last meeting with knowing how the people on the street felt, which I greatly respect and appreciate. Basically, there were 3 surveys. According to the DPW, we had one come back 14 no, 10 for yes. And then, of course, our neighbor went along the street, and of course, Councilman Johnson and Garza walked the street and did their survey. So by those 3 surveys, it looks like, again, the majority is against moving forward with the project. One thing that I want everybody to understand is the financial implication, which I know some of you have mentioned, which I greatly appreciate and understand these numbers, that a minimum of 11 homes, up to 50% of the homes, will have a lien on their property that represents 5 to 10% of their property's value, with the exception of my house, which will be 13% of my value is what that lien will place against my home. That could very easily stop people from who can't afford this from selling their home, because if they owe, for example, $60,000 on a home that's worth $60,000 or even $70,000, and their assessment is at $5,000 or $6,000, they may have to bring money to the table. If they don't have that money, they can't sell their home. So there is a financial implication to those that cannot afford it. I appreciate those that have mentioned that. In closing, I want to say that I respect that the city can't afford it at this time. I respect that. Please respect that some of the people on the street also cannot afford this at this time, and I ask that you vote no. Thank you.
My name's Nick Gabriel. I live at 24650 Kensington, because you know how I feel from the last meeting. I went to the mayor's office. I asked to see the mayor, and the secretary said he couldn't talk to me about this issue because he doesn't vote, which I understood. My question was, how does Mr. Hennessy, who started the petition, come up here and tell each of bids it's going to be done like this? He's not a city employee. He's not a city engineer. He's the guy that lives on our street. Second of all, they were going to contact me about showing me the petition. I found the original petition right here. The highest guy being assessed on Tom just happened to be overlooked. The second highest was myself, $13,500. Just happened to go see my wife and not me. This was a snow job. Nothing here, nothing is about us paying for it. That's the actual petition, July 2013. Mr. Hennessy signed it, he took it around. It's just kind of like a setup. I really was. He knew what he was doing. He avoided me, and he knows I have the village license. I know what he would be talking about, to see my wife. And he told me skip Tom. Tom's got an 11-month-old baby. He doesn't need to get $20,000 worth. I retired last year in January. 71 years old, so I could retire out of debt. I have 2 teenage kids I adopted and raised. This is way, way out of line to come up with this kind of stuff. And I just think somebody, read it. There's nothing on it saying that we agree to pay for it. The biggest issue, I think, is this is digging up the road and repaving. What's wrong with the 2-inch top coat like you do every other street? There's no semis, there's no buses, there's no trucks driving down there. That's a residential street. I had my driveway top coated 8 years ago. It looks fine. So I don't know why they think we need to dig it up and redo it like Kelly. It's not that busy of a street. It's a residential